Prepare yourself for List Off, the gaming podcast where your hosts, Brian and Ryan, rank the things they love. 3, 2, 1, List Off!
This week on List Off, what the Nintendo?
Jeez. Is that going to be bleeped out?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I wanted to see your face.
Yeah.
Wanted it to be a natural reaction.
That is natural right there. Wow. Okay. You didn't offend me. You just surprised me.
Okay, cool. I asked if you wanted a heads up on what it was going to be.
No, that's great. That's genuine reaction right there.
So how's it going, Brian?
It's good. It's good after that. Yeah, I feel pretty good. A little sick, but I'm here.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you showing up, man. Showing up for duty.
That's right. Call of Duty.
Yeah, there you go. So did you play any games this week? Sorry for the shock, man. I didn't mean to I could see your face. It was
a jump start here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my whole gaming week has been just Horizon Forbidden West, nothing else. And yeah, that game is very good. I am very impressed with it. I've probably gotten about, let's say, like 10 hours in here and there. And I don't want to do any spoilers, obviously, because it's a brand new game. But I've gotten into the Forbidden West. Let's say that the game has a pretty extensive prologue where you can do a bunch of side missions, kind of like the plateau in Breath of the Wild, where it's a starting area, but then you can kind of go off. I
saw somebody tweet that I have 16 hours in and I still haven't reached the Forbidden West. So it's good to know it's reachable in 10.
Right.
Yeah.
So my style that I'm going with is I want to do the main quest. I want to see the story all the way through, and then I will probably do side missions and go back and see everything that I want to see. This game is absolutely gorgeous. I would say it's probably the best looking video game that I've ever seen.
Whoa.
It's gorgeous graphics. I'm playing on performance mode, so I get nice 60 frames per second. I don't have a 4K TV, so that's like the only one that I should be using.
It's the one you should be using regardless.
I would say so. Yeah. I would always have frame rate over resolution any day.
Absolutely.
The water looks absolutely amazing. That water tech is definitely up there. And yeah, you can go underwater in any area that has water. So it's not like, I think that the first game you couldn't really do that.
Really. No, not that. Yeah, I don't know if you couldn't go underwater at all. Could you in the first game?
I don't know that you could. I can't remember because it's been 5 years.
I do remember swimming in the first one for sure.
Because they had those big alligator robots.
Yeah.
Story wise, I'm still intrigued. I mean, these games are all built on mystery. We know a lot of what has happened, so that mystery is gone. As to where we are in the post apocalypse, why there are robot dinosaurs. All that kind of stuff has been solved and known, but there are still mysteries to be had here. Even the last game kind of hints at there's a larger picture here. You get to see all new characters and your favorite characters. The animation is superb.
Wow.
So I've been kind of talking about it so The Last of Us Part 2, completely the best motion capture I've ever seen in a video game.
Yeah.
It's all handcrafted. Every single piece of that is gone over with a fine-tooth comb. For this, I would say they get a very similar effect in terms of the quality, but you can tell that it's done procedurally. There's an engine in play where, they probably tighten up different reactions to things and add in a few extra hand gestures, but for the most part you can tell that these characters are just talking and are going based on a script of kind of sometimes I need to be moving my hands, sometimes I need to kind of look away or avert my eyes or look at another character who might be getting ready to say something. All of that stuff is just done so beautifully, and there are so many interactions in this game. There are so many different side quests and characters. Every single one of them is completely fleshed out and has a whole story to tell. There was one guy who I started a conversation and he said, "This is going to be a long story." And I was like, "Yeah, go for it." And then like, it was a really, really long story, but like, there were like 5 different times where I could say like, "Okay, I've had enough. I want to get going." But all of like that entire conversation, I would say, was probably like 10 minutes if I wanted to sit there and listen to the whole thing. Every part of it was just like engrossing. And there were different, like, just facets of the animation that had me drawn in at every step of the way.
Felt genuine.
It really did. Yeah. These are 2 characters actually having a conversation. Aloy is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, she established herself as a character in the first game. She is established and she is awesome. She has no time for anything. People need to get out of her way. And there's a lot of like fun interactions where you can really see that happening. But the gameplay is as good as ever. They fixed a couple things. I didn't remember this, but a couple people have told me in the first game you would have to like get a lot of things for crafting, but you could only carry so much, and then you would have to drop things and kind of like make decisions on that. Right. It was annoying.
Yeah, I've heard they've overhauled that.
They did. So you can just pick up everything all the time, and it just gets sent to your stash if you're like over capacity. So it's a complete,
what a novel idea.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, but like, you know, it's a video game. Like, just let people have fun with it.
Yeah, you gotta love that, because like that was not fun. So the developers like, how can we make it fun for people? And they solved that problem. That's great. Yeah.
You know, there's heavy RPG elements. You get a lot of different abilities, and you can, you know, put your points into different things. The abilities seem really cool. I know that it was in the trailer where she uses one of her kind of ultra abilities, and the camera's
like a valor
so cool.
thing, right?
Yes, the valor. That's right. So that just kind of builds up over time, but it's a total like anime, like camera spins around, and then she like either puts like some war paint on, or just like, you know, activates something on her wrist, or there's like a million different things based on the different valor that you put into it. Exactly. She is powering up. Yeah. And then it like the screen has different effects based on whatever you're doing. But yeah, super smooth gameplay. I really liked the gameplay in the first game. You know, as you're getting higher into the levels and dealing with bigger enemies and stronger and faster enemies, you have to make use of all the different traps, all the different bow types and arrows. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about that combat. That's always been a high point for me. Yeah. You definitely have to take your time and learn attacks. It's not as punishing as like a Souls game would be,
right? But
it's still, you definitely have to think. It's not just button mashy.
Right. I felt like it was a little messy in the first game, so I do hope they streamlined it a little bit. It didn't feel as polished as a Souls game, you know?
Right.
Like I felt robbed a few times. Like it wasn't because of a mistake I made, right?
I can understand that. There is some kind of like stickiness to it where if Aloy's not close enough, she'll like kind of warp a little bit. And if the enemies aren't close enough, but they like basically made a connection with you, the animation will like adjust for that. And that kind of feels a little rough sometimes. But for the most part, I would say that it is definitely a tighter experience than the first game.
Man,
I ran into a similar thing to you, where it took me a long time to get into the combat of Zero Dawn. But this one, maybe it's because I have experience with the systems, but I think it is just doing a better job of getting you in the game. I would say the traversal mechanisms that you have are really good with the glider and the hookshot kind of pull caster.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty early on, but I am absolutely loving it so far. And I am just so disappointed that it seems like it's going to get overshadowed yet again by another big game.
Well, I think, like, honestly, I do think that week has been enough. It has probably sold gangbusters. You know, I'm willing to bet it has anyway. People kind of planted their flag. Unfortunately, it could be both, but a lot of people picked, you know, I'm going to spend my money on Forbidden West, or I'm going to spend it on Elden Ring. For the listeners, Elden Ring hasn't released yet. This episode will be coming out after Elden Ring's release, but we are on the cusp of it right now at the time of recording. But man, I'm really happy to hear all that about Forbidden West. I was wondering, how do they handle the climbing in it? Because I do hear they do that a lot better. Is it more organic, like Breath of the Wild? Can you kind of climb everywhere, or is it specific places, but they have enough of them to where it's not a burden?
So there are still specific places, but those specific places are multiplied by like 1,000.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So you can choose at the beginning of the game if you want to use explorer mode or guided mode.
Mhm.
And explorer mode kind of doesn't highlight anything except like your main quest marker. And then it just lets you explore and try to find where things are. In guided mode, it definitely highlights like, here's the handholds, here's where you should be going. But you can't really tell all the different places you can climb unless you're really paying attention. But there are definitely, like, if you just like look at a rock face, there's going to be points that you can kind of tell, like, okay, I can go up this way. That's but cool. It's hidden for the most part unless you're like really paying attention.
Right. It's not like a yellow platform everywhere, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But right. It's not like Zelda where it's like any surface that you see is climbable. So.
Right. Cool. Yeah. Cool. So you heard it here. It's Brian's favorite game ever.
I mean, it's my favorite game of 2021 so far.
Oh, cool.
Of games that have come out.
Yeah.
Or 2022. Yeah, yes. Yeah. So, I mean, that might change over time. We got a lot of time left here, but yeah, we'll see.
So I will say it's Elden Ring hasn't released, but the reviews did drop. So we know that it is looking like people think it is the best game, one of the best games ever made. It's, I'm hearing that term thrown around a lot. And needless to say, it's gotten me only more excited for the game. I really do hope you get it early because there's like co-op. We could visit each other's worlds and help each other out. That would be so cool. But yeah, totally. Like enjoy Horizon Forbidden West. It sounds like it sounds like a special game.
I want to champion it for as long as I can because I don't want it to get overshadowed.
You have exactly this episode. So
I know.
Yeah, good job.
That's why I talked for so long about it.
Right. Good job. So for me, I do want to say we did a Mario Kart tournament last Saturday. We kind of mentioned it, I think, last episode, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it occurred, and I won the tournament. I laid smack down. Yeah,
you did. I don't think people were ready for your caliber of Mario Kart.
Wow, thank you, Brian. I
never saw you. I placed 10th overall.
I saw you. I saw you.
Yeah, well, you were just a blur. I think I sent like 2 blue shells that probably didn't even hit you. So,
yeah, I love Mario Kart 8, and now people. It's so like I'm not a boastful person. I don't consider myself like aggressive in that way or anything like that. But it does feel good that people know how good I am at Mario Kart now. Yes. Because like I've only ever really had time to share that with the anonymous people online and my wife who plays with me. By the way, she got 3rd out of the 12 other podcasts who
the doctor
took place. Yeah. And a special thanks to Big Drink Energy podcast for putting that together. It was really a ton of fun, man. But yeah, she placed 3rd. I placed 1st. Brian placed 10th. I want to say. So not last. You did say last, but you did not get last.
That's right.
Yeah. But like I said, it feels good, man. To finally like have that out there that people know. That's right. I'm still playing some Sifu as well. And it kind of did. So going back to Mario Kart 8, it did spark. My wife and I used to play all the time. So we have been playing more often since that tournament because it's like, oh yeah, like, wait, remember this? This is fun. Like, let's do that. So I do appreciate it for that reason too. But yeah, Sifu is great. I was trying to get the, so there's like you could do, gosh, I don't know if I want to spoil this. I don't know if it's even a spoiler at this point, but there's a different ending you could get to the game, and there's a way to go about that. And I was trying to achieve that. And I'm not the best at achieving that, so I don't know if I'm really going to go for it. I'm still having fun playing the game, but I don't think I should set out with that being my goal, Is
that part of the platinum?
It might be. I haven't really delved into the trophies that much as far as like what it takes to get them. But yeah, I'm still enjoying the heck out of that game. I'm also still pushing a little bit further into Hollow Knight, but really I'm just like biding my time waiting for Elden Ring. That's really what this is at this point. And I also think that Super Mega Baseball 3 drops tomorrow for on Game Pass. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not kidding. I am 100% looking forward to that.
Maybe you should stream it.
Hey, maybe I should actually. We might talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah, we might talk about that later in the show. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I mean, I've kind of taken it easy, enjoying my winnings from that tournament, and not really getting. I don't want to get too deep into anything right now. I know right now I'm sitting on a little over 24 hours before I can play the game.
Right.
And man, I cannot, if you were to try to measure the level of my excitement, whatever you're using to measure it would break.
A thermometer.
It would break. That mercury would be everywhere.
A scale.
That would break because I'd tip it.
I'll come up with some more. That's right.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think that's about it for what we've been playing. I say we go ahead and get into our mission report, which is about it's about Nintendo. So I kind of let in a little harshly. I do want to say a quick disclaimer. Well, I'll say it after the little break here. We'll get into all this. We're heading into our mission report. Let's go. All right, Brian. So I was a little harsh in the intro with the bleeps, but it's come to my attention. We're part of like a community now in some ways with other podcasters or people who stream video games, just people who use video games to create content, right? And being a part of that community, you start picking up on things that people generally praise and people condemn. And it seems like Nintendo gets praise, and I'm not singling anybody out. I don't have anybody in mind when I say this, but it does seem like Nintendo gets a lot of praise when I think they should be getting a lot more criticism than some other gaming companies. It seems like they always get a pass. So that's what we're going to discuss. But before we get into it, my quick disclaimer is I've been playing Nintendo games for 35 years. Brian, it's probably like 30 for you or something, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we are probably undoubtedly going to continue buying Nintendo products. And I personally am very hyped for specific upcoming titles. I'm sure you are as well. It's for me personally, it's been the most instrumental company in my personal gaming history. It'll surely continue to be a huge part of it. I like the Switch. I enjoy many of the franchises and services we will talk a lot of crap about in this episode. We're not trying to incite any anger, but there are some real problems with Nintendo that need to be discussed and addressed, I think. Is that fair to say?
I think I would echo all of that. I definitely, Nintendo has been probably my favorite game company just over all of the years combined.
Yeah.
They've definitely shaped my gaming likes and dislikes. And I think the industry is better for them being here. But there are a lot of things that, like you said, need to be addressed, and other companies have addressed them as competition. So
so let's get right into it. You bring up an interesting point. I think you're right. To start off, I think the industry is better for Nintendo being there, but Nintendo gets a lot of credit for saving the industry, right? Because it was in the dumps after the video game industry crash, because of what Atari did. And Nintendo kind of brought it out and made it viable to have home gaming consoles again. And really, like
Nintendo seal of quality on
products. We'll talk about that for sure. But they get a lot of credit for that, and I think rightfully so. But like in the back of my mind, like it was going to happen eventually anyway, right? Like another
video
company
games
was going to, like with the way computing was moving forward and things, like it was an inevitability. I would go out to say, like, there was going to be home gaming regardless of Nintendo. And I mean, like, I don't feel like that's a controversial statement, but maybe it is.
Yeah, I mean, we probably wouldn't have arrived at it in the same way. And yeah, I mean, Nintendo's a lot like Disney. They have these beloved characters, and that kind of drove things forward. Whereas I'm like Atari, not so much. So yeah, I mean, there was magic there, I think, is my point.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You can't, no other company has encapsulated that in the same way that Nintendo has.
I think that still holds true very much. Yeah.
Sure.
So what's a reason you think Nintendo gets a pass from so many gamers?
So I think a big part of it, at least now, is nostalgia. We have had all those franchises, those characters, and they've stood the test of time. They have innovated. We had Super Mario games, but then we had Mario Kart, and then we had different iterations of Mario games, and then sports games, and the RPGs. There's been iteration even within a franchise.
Mhm.
So that just proves that those characters can be slotted into like any genre, and it makes sense. I mean, they're in, you know, what the Mario and Rabbids game,
Yeah.
a completely different genre of game, mashing up a bunch of things, and it works.
Mhm.
And I think it is that just the magic of those characters, and we know how careful they are at cultivating that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head. I do think it's a big part of why they get a pass from so many people is nostalgia. When you talk about innovation, I do agree that they have innovated within these franchises, but I think sometimes it's a bit overstated.
Sure.
I think they innovate and then get stagnant a lot of the time. Like, hey, we innovate. Here's a big title, like something changed, and then it's like, oh, this worked.
Right.
Like let's keep doing that.
I mean, that was Zelda. Zelda was the same from Ocarina of Time until Skyward Sword.
Mhm.
You know, they had, you know, they did different things here and there, but for
Right.
the most part, the formula existed and was successful.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I would
why
even
change it?
say it's from like Link to the Past to Skyward Sword,
Sure.
because it went from 2D to 3D, but aside from that, the way things moved forward never really changed, right? You get
Mhm.
the weapon in the dungeon, you use that weapon to like solve the dungeon's puzzles, get to the boss, boom, point into the next area, go there, do
Sure.
the same thing, right? And not to say it didn't work, it definitely worked. Like Legend of Zelda is one of my favorite franchises of all times, but not a lot of innovation. Breath of the Wild too, I love that game. I think it's breathtaking, pun intended, but it's also like, it's innovative for a Zelda game, right?
Right.
Not necessarily innovative. I do think they did some innovative things with how you're clued in to things in the environment. And I do think it allows exploration in a way that other open worlds don't. So I do think it took a formula that was there prior to it and improved upon it.
Sure.
But there were open world games before Breath of the Wild, right? Yes, it did it better than almost all of them.
I don't know that I don't think did it better is all that's there, because we had Skyrim, and when we were
right, that's true.
When we were first introduced to Breath of the Wild, people said, like, I mean, even in the first introduction, I think it was Ainuma said, like, you see that mountain, you can go there. Basically what Todd Howard said was Skyrim.
Right.
And we kind of laughed at that. We said, that, okay, we've done that before. This is dumb. Like, why are we acting like this is something innovative and new? And then we actually played it, and then we saw, like, no, that again, there's the magic, like
right, that Nintendo,
indescribable magic that, you know, they had some new systems with the weapons and you know, the bombs and abilities and things like that,
right,
but the core of it was things that we've seen before.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like a recent example of that, I think, would be Legends Arceus. I know this isn't Nintendo firsthand, but it is exclusive to their console and released by Game Freak. And I have no doubt they had some hand in its development.
Sure.
It is getting tons and tons of praise. And yes, it looks very innovative for a Pokemon game, but I mean, I can't help but look at the mechanics being used and think there are games that use those same mechanics better, right? And I look, I know this is a debate that has been ever present since the game's release, and I'd hate to be the person to point this out, but like, it matters. It's 2022, and I'm going to say that game does not look good. Like,
oh yeah,
it's a AAA title from a Game Freak, who like should be doing better than this. Literally the franchise that is 100% the most profitable franchise in the world.
Yeah.
And you create a game in 2022 that looks like it came out 2 generations ago.
Right.
Like it looks that bad. Like I don't
looks really bad.
And I know, like, hey, it might be the best. I'm genuinely happy that people are enjoying this game, and it's gotten a resurgence out of people into Pokemon. But it should look better than that. Like, I don't think there's an argument to be had there. Like, there's almost no excuse for a game to look like that. And some of the elements too, it's like, hey, now you could like see Pokemon in the wild. It's not just like random encounters. And it's like, is that innovative though?
Right.
Because I mean, that's how a lot of games work, right? Yeah.
I mean, that was Chrono Trigger had enemies that you could just avoid altogether because they were on the map. So, I mean, RPGs have been doing that forever.
Yeah. And I think it goes with what you're saying with that magic, right? What's the magic of Pokemon? I mean, if you took out the pocket monsters and put in like dudes in armor, all of a sudden that game is not innovative at all. And
I think you should ask Digimon what is the magic of Pokemon.
I don't know if they could tell me the answer from their grave.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's something there.
Right. And I think that's it. Like, seriously, think about Legends Arceus and think about if you weren't collecting Pokemon. Say it was just something else. Say it was, I'd hate to say dudes in armor, because like, who's going to collect a bunch of dudes in armor, right? But say it was like what Yakuza Like a Dragon had a funny thing where you were getting like these like sketchy dudes and collecting them. So like, say the whole game was that. All of a sudden it is not this 9 out of 10 game. It is
Right.
It is like, oh, this game looks terrible. Like, what's the point? Why are we catching these things, right?
Sure.
But because it's Pokemon, because it's all these, like, it plays on that nostalgia. Oh, like I caught a Pokemon. I know it's my favorite one. Like, that matters to people,
It
right?
does, but think about back to 1998 where we didn't have nostalgia for it, and it just happened, and everyone was immediately enamored.
Yeah,
and it's just like an indescribable thing that everyone was on board with.
It's true, and like, I am really, really getting on their case here. It's good that Pokemon is innovating at all.
Right.
Like that, I think that's a big point I want to make that I haven't expressed. Like, yeah, I'm saying like it's not enough, but it's something, and it's something more than they've done in like 30 years, dude. Yeah. Right? Like, pretty good.
So that's the thing. We have the answer to why does Nintendo get a pass for so many games, and we will answer that in a very succinct way at the end of this. I want to save that, but
I will not. I'm just here to talk a bunch of crap, dude.
Sure.
I think I'm doing pretty well so far. I am sure I have angered people, and like I don't know. I feel like I'm so positive on games all the time, and like that's me being me. Like, I love video games, despite their flaws. I love them, and all the things I'm saying. These negative, I'm saying all this negative stuff right now, but like, I love these games too. Like, I love Pokemon, and it doesn't mean I can't see the issues, like, and talk about that, right? So like,
exactly,
I'm allowed to vent every once in a while, right?
Oh yeah, this is a venting episode for sure.
Good. So yeah, I guess I could just. Am I going to be the one to introduce all the problems here? Or did you want to
I have some big points, and I want to make sure that they don't overlap or are too early on what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had some recent news from Nintendo, and that was one of the big things that I think spurred this whole conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you want to get into that now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can bring it up.
So, because this is the crux of a lot of things that I wanted to talk about, Nintendo is shutting down the 3DS eShop and the Wii U eShop. So they're shutting down the ability to buy new stuff. They're giving you, I think it's like a year. Mm-hmm. So if you have money in the bank, you need to spend it. If you are wanting to buy anything, like, you have until later this year to even purchase any more eShop credit.
Right.
But after sometime in 2023, they are getting rid of the eShop and the ability to buy things. You can still download things that you've purchased from them. So that is not going away for the foreseeable future. And they still have the Wii shop up. You can still download the stuff that you, quote unquote, own. So, but that just brings up the question about, like, well, how long are they going to do this? And Nintendo is notorious for getting rid of these services in favor of selling those games to you again.
Right.
They are not shy to that. We've seen it over and over again. Every single generation, they do that. And I think it goes back to the point where they have been doing this for a while, and they have competition in the space now more than ever. Mm-hmm. We have 3 distinct styles of this. We have Nintendo and what they do. Like, you can buy your stuff. We're going to get rid of these ways to play the games. We're only going to have 3D All-Stars for a little bit, and then you won't be able to buy it on our eShop at all. We're not going to make any more physical editions at all. It's gone.
Right.
But we'll sell it to you again with the Nintendo Switch Online. And then we have PlayStation, who, they're pretty good about, like, okay, well, we got some we have the PlayStation Shop, but you can't play it on this console,
Right.
and you can't do the PS2 here, and the PS3, if it's a 20 gig one, it can play everything, but the 80 gig one can't. Like, there's a bunch of weird stuff that has always happened with PlayStation.
Yes.
They want you to play their games. They have cut some avenues where you can always get to something.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's Xbox. They don't care where you're playing. If you have a screen in front of you, you can play any game that has pretty much been on any Xbox of all time. I think
they by far are the best at this sort of thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, I feel like PlayStation's like the business one, right? Like, we're trying to do what you want, but we're also trying to make money.
Exactly.
And Nintendo is like the traditional, like, oh, we're going to do what we're doing and you're going to pay for it.
Yep.
And then you have Game Pass, who's like, give the people what they want, right? Exactly. Or not even Game Pass, Xbox in general, because you can like buy it. I was able to download that game we talked about last week, the Dungeons and Dragons Shadows over Mystara, because like, oh wait, like I had this 360 game. Let me play it on my Series X, Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's just like three distinct styles going on. And the big point there is, I think, archives and where, video games sit in history. That's important. I mean, these games are art. They deserve to be celebrated and exist for as long as human culture is around. I don't think there's any reason for these things not to exist. And Nintendo is proving that, like, they don't care about that. They just want to sell you stuff, and there's no way to play some games anymore. I mean, there's countless games on like the Wii eShop channel that just like went away when that shut down.
Yeah.
And I think even the Video Game History Museum came out and kind of like decried this whole situation.
So actually, I have what they said right here.
Here we go.
If I can just interject.
Sure.
Yeah, the Video Game History Museum, is that what it was? They came out and said, while it's unfortunate that people won't be able to purchase digital 3DS or Wii U games anymore, we understand the business reality that went into this decision. What we don't understand is what path Nintendo expects its fans to take. Should they wish to play these games in the future as a paying member of the Entertainment Software Association, Nintendo actively funds lobbying that prevents even libraries from being able to provide legal access to these games.
Crazy.
What? And then not providing commercial access is understandable, but preventing institutional work to preserve these titles on top of that is actively destructive to video game history. Totally agree with that statement.
Yeah.
And then it goes on, we encourage ESA members like Nintendo to rethink their position on the issue and work with existing institutions to find a solution.
It belongs in a museum.
Hell yeah, man. Like, dude, you serious? Like, of course, Indiana Jones, like, that's exactly my take on it. And that's the biggest thing too. I think that's a fair part of the argument here. They are willing to literally give jail time to people who are trying to get these games into people's hands. I get it. You want to make money off those titles, like 100%. Yes, like piracy, you want to squash it. You want to make monies off the titles, but you're not doing that. And when you do it, you get poor emulation like the NSO offers, right?
Right.
So like, there's got to be a better way to go about this, man. Like, you can't just be ultimately punishing everyone who tries to do that and then not providing the product yourself, or at least like for the sake of preservation, like taking it away from libraries or like educational institutions. That's like wild to me.
Yeah.
There's actually a website I'll put in the show notes where you can track all the history of Nintendo and their lawsuits when it comes to this sort of thing. And there are quite a few. Like the more recent one with Bowser getting 5 years in prison, I think that just happened a week ago.
Sure.
That is far from the only case of that happening.
Right.
It's bad business practice for sure. Like, it's bad for the industry. Speaking of the NSO, if I may, so that's the thing. The eShop is gone, right? And I think they're saying, oh, like the NSO is here now. Like, NSO is your new god. Worship it,
Right.
And I do think that the issue is there could be both. They're not mutually exclusive. You could have this service where people pay a monthly fee or annual fee and get the NSO, and you could also offer like a la carte. You want a single game, you buy it.
That's what both of the other companies have done.
Right.
But this is exactly what Apple does. Mm-hmm. They have their Apple Arcade, and you really like this one game? Well, pay us $5 a month and you can get it. Yeah, you get 100 other games, but if you don't like them, tough. It's just a remnant of that, and it really stinks.
No, I agree. I think that's a good parallel to make to Apple, because it is that they know what they have. They know they have like Apple fanboys, and they know like people will pay the funds, and Nintendo is no different. Like they know people will buy the product. They leverage that nostalgia over like quantity or quality of the content they put out.
Exactly.
The NSO price point, I will say, is way off. We have it.
So
both of us have it. Yeah, it's another instance.
We are part of the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And
but we did it in the way that made sense to us, which is getting other people on board and sharing sharing the load.
And I mean, that's the funny thing. There is a loophole there with the family plan for $80 for a year, right?
And they encourage it. They actually say if you can find other people, you should do that.
Yeah, but as far as the individual membership, I think that price point is way off, personally.
Oh, it's complete trash.
Yeah. And I just think there are some bigger issues that, obviously, like it not having to do with this. So if you want to continue this topic, like let's do so and get it all out now.
I have one point to that. I don't think that the level of going back and forth, should we get it, should we not get it, like for NSO, mm-hmm. $80 a year versus the Xbox model. I don't even think about Game Pass.
Right.
It's just, I'm subscribed. Yeah. It's great. I don't care about the $15 a month. It makes sense because of what you're getting. But mm-hmm. like you and I struggled for a long time, like, and that's like splitting the cost. Mm-hmm. Do we want to get into this plan that has, like, I don't know, a couple things that maybe we'll use one day?
Yeah.
And it's just like a crazy difference but between the two services. Mm-hmm. And I'm really interested to see where PlayStation goes with it. So we're gonna get, it's hard to beat that Xbox model, but absolutely. Nintendo has shown that there's a bottom of the barrel that you can scrape.
And I mean, that's just it. It's like the promise of them adding more. I have played, since we've had the expansion pass, I've played quite a bit of games on there, mostly Genesis games that you get with the expansion. I've played
that you've already played in the past.
Right. Correct.
It's nothing new.
Correct. I haven't touched the N64 games. I plan on doing it, but like I plan on playing a lot of games, right? And never get around to it. And like, what do you really get for that? Even for the NES and the SNES, what would you even call them? Like apps, I guess.
Sure.
There's
virtual console.
Yeah, right. Like there are good products there on the SNES one, and I played some of those, but like how many games are you getting on each one? 30, maybe 25 NES games, and like half of them you really don't want to play anyway.
Sure.
I'd even say more than half. It's the SNES one, like it's all stuff you played before, like you said. So how many are you really going to go back and play? Genesis has like maybe 12 titles, I think. Sure. The N64 doesn't have many. I know they're adding them. It's seemingly monthly, which means you'll lose your prediction there, Brian.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they're pushing it. What, tomorrow we get Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
So that's 2 in a 2-month period.
It's been 3, hasn't it? Because you said they added Banjo.
Oh, was Paper Mario. Was that the other one? Okay.
Yeah, and this. So you did say you'd count Paper Mario. Not to digress here.
Sure,
but,
sure.
Yeah,
I'm not holding out much hope, honestly, because I feel like we haven't heard what the next one is.
Beetle Adventure Racing. Let's get it.
There's no way.
I hope
I'm sure there's some problem with that.
Could you imagine the licensing with that? Yeah, absolutely. But no, I just think that they're not offering, like you said, they're not offering a good product. And that's the difference with Game Pass. You don't give it a second thought, because you know that every month, you're going to have countless games on there you could play. And I mean, even if there's only 5, they're not 10-minute experiences like some of these NES games. They are, meaty games on that service.
So that's the other thing. This is a good service for someone who hasn't experienced anything, who maybe wants to go back and play NES, Super Nintendo. That's not for us. We've done that. We've played those games. Yeah, we like to go back and play for 10 minutes and call it a day. But for someone to go out and buy all the systems, all the games, yeah, that would be a ludicrous amount of money. So I like that aspect.
Right.
But this is a crummy way to go about, giving that to people.
Yeah. And I mean, talking on that game preservation that you brought up, it's not good for that. It's not good at it. You're getting subpar versions of these games, and you're getting only a few of the games. You're not getting like the entirety of the library in any one of these virtual apps or whatever you want to call them.
Could you imagine if Nintendo did what Xbox has done and just like, yeah, you know what? Have all the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, everything.
But why can't they?
Because they don't have to. And that's the big answer.
Right.
They make ridiculous amounts of money just selling the same things over and over again.
Well, fine, sell them. Like, that's the point I'm making. It doesn't have to be a part of the service. Like, have that. Like, okay, you want all these games, here they are, but you have to pay per title. Like, people would love that. That's like, I feel like that's what they're missing, is having both that and the NSO, right? There should be both.
How many times have you bought Ocarina of Time in your life, though?
Oh my gosh, really?
Exactly.
Like 4?
Exactly.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that was, let's say, $50 a pop. Or in your method, it's like, okay, well, let's pay $50 one time and you own it forever.
Right.
It's stupid for them to do that. And that they know what they have, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. Boo.
Well, that's it.
I know. But everything after this is going to seem minor in comparison. I think that was the biggest issue here.
Yeah.
But,
and I'm sorry to jump around, but like that,
no, it's all
like,
good.
In talking what's happened recently, like it just proves this point that we know over and over again.
Yeah, I agree. So I also think like another reason this conversation sparked, I think the reason I initially brought up having this conversation was because like the direct happened, right? The recent direct, and people were like, yeah, like this is the best direct Nintendo's had in years. And yeah, sure. Like, yes, it was, right? Absolutely. Sure. On board with that. But like, I think it's a product of the console we're dealing with. It's a good direct when really it's like a slew of non-exclusive games and re-releases of old titles, right? It goes with the thing we're saying about playing with nostalgia and like, oh, what a great direct. And like, yes, they had their like banger announcements in there. They showed like Salmon Run from Splatoon 3 with Kaiju in it now. And they finally had a release date for Advance Wars 1 and 2, which arguably we should have already had. We should have already be playing the game, right? And you also had, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is huge for some people, not for me, but like, I get it. But then interspersed in there is like, oh, you're also getting these games like a Chrono Cross remake, which is not exclusive to the Switch, but they bill it. They give it top billing like it's a big deal. And people, wow, look at that, and all these other games, they really like just kind of stick in there, but it ends up that like, they're all re-releases of older games like The Force Unleashed. Like, come on, dude. Do you really care about The Force Unleashed coming to the Switch?
Not at all.
No, I know.
I didn't even care about the game when it came out, so I'm not a good person to talk to.
How dare you?
I know.
But there were a lot of that kind of caliber of announcement, right? And there's also that like even if they announce a game that's not a re-release, it's not an exclusive, like, hey, check it out. Like, here's this Chrono Cross remake. Well, you could get it on PC or like PS4 too, or, like you can get it on a console. Yeah, right. No Man's Sky. Ooh, wow. Like, you can get it on something that's undoubtedly going to run it better, right? Because you're dealing with like mobile technology in the Switch. And I think that's just like, I love their announcements. I love their surprises. I love how they do like before we go, there's one more announcement, right? And in this case, I mean,
they definitely innovated on the direct. Like that is the way to distribute information. And they were absolutely the first people to do it.
Yes. And I think it is the best way to do it in today's like gaming climate, right?
Yeah. And technology too. I mean, that's what, all of these, Apple does that with their things now. It's not that stage show. It's just like here's a flyby of our campus and we're showing you all the new Apple products. Like that's how you do it now.
Yeah. So I will say, I guess like the comparison I would make, say PlayStation came out and did this with like maybe 2 games you already knew about, but now they have a release date for it. Right. And one big, big-ish surprise announcement, like Xenoblade 3, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, right?
Right.
And a bunch of other stuff that was like not big titles at all, that were re-releases or people would be like, dude, this was a horrible PlayStation event. Right. Like, and they would say the same for Xbox. Like, and I think rightfully so. But when it's Nintendo, it's like, whoa, we're getting a Gundam game I'll never buy. What? Crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I love the Switch. Don't get me wrong. I love the way it did innovate, but it is old hardware. You're dealing with like
old now,
mobile hardware. You're dealing with
it's
mobile.
It's been a while since I got excited. Like Dread, I was excited for the month, and then it was here.
Yeah,
but Breath of the Wild 2 is the only thing like on the hook for me, honestly.
Advance Wars reboot came for me, but
20-year-old game, man. I don't know.
I know. I suck. I am like exactly the problem I have with
that
Nintendo.
One. Like I would wait for that one to be a cheaper price, but it's a Nintendo game, so it's not going to be.
Right. I think it's 40.
It's always going to be $40 though. It's never going to go down in price. So if I want it, like
it might be a $60 game.
I feel like it's a $60 game. Yeah, it's a $60 game because I remember thinking like, oh, well, I paid $30 for each Advance Wars on Game Boy Advance, so it's now $60, right. Same as a game.
Yeah.
It's totally $60. Yeah,
I'm about to find out.
You're going to be very disappointed.
I'm sure I'm going to be.
I'm telling you,
man. It's $60.
It's $60. Like they are not parting me with that $60 for. I'm not going to get that game. It's cool, but I'm not going to get that game.
I so wish I could say that, Brian.
They got you.
It's that magic, brother. I need it. Give me that
magic.
Everyone
has it.
Shove it in my veins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's got that franchise or that game that will do it for them.
Right. But yeah, I just think that like I do appreciate for what the Switch did at the time, but even then it was outdated hardware. Even at release, it was not new, fresh, like cutting edge. Aside from God, I hate to call it a gimmick because I do think the Switch is more than a gimmick. But I mean, aside from it being like, hey, take it with you and you can play at home, which is a great thing for a console to do. It's hugely innovative. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not trying to understate that.
Steam Deck is making that a core part of what it is.
Right. And I'm not trying to understate that at all, but like we need a refresh for sure. And
I just said it. It's the Steam Deck.
yeah, exactly.
It doesn't get your Nintendo, but it gets everything else.
And the biggest thing is we are now 5 years on to the Switch, and they still haven't fixed Joy-Con drift.
Yeah. Like,
are people just going to forget that's a thing that's existed for the last 5 years with no resolution from Nintendo whatsoever? Oh, you got Joy-Con drift. It's cool. Send in your Joy-Cons. We'll send you others, and those will have Joy-Con drift too. Does that sound good? Does that work? No. I'm being so terrible towards Nintendo, but like that is inexcusable, dude. It's like
not good,
right? Like, yeah. Imagine. I'm just thinking if another company did this, it would be a much bigger deal. I'm so surprised Nintendo wasn't like raked across the coals for that.
I think it's just because it's a not annoying enough problem for the majority of people out there. The people who care and like can notice it are going to be that vocal minority. But then you have like the family that's like, all right, well, this thing like doesn't work because the kids are bashing on it. Like, let's just buy $80 of new Joy-Cons and call it a day and not ever worry about it again.
I think it goes further too. I think it's those hardcore Nintendo people like, oh, I'll just get a Pro Controller.
Yeah.
Like,
or I want the yellow Joy-Cons.
Right. I play with the Pro Controller because like I didn't want to deal with Joy-Con drift. So they're getting more of your money because of a problem they created, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the gripes I wanted to bring up. The one thing I will actually say is a positive is there was a lot of talk about Mario Kart 9.
Welcome to Mario Kart.
And it's a live service. Apparently Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is like a live service platform now. Initially, at the time of this announcement, they didn't do the best job of conveying the information, but I really got like, hold on. The first 8 tracks are $25, and I thought it was going to be 25 per pack.
I didn't quite get it. I rewatched it, and I didn't get that message from it. But when you said that, I was like, oh my God, that's terrible. And then like rewatched it, and it's not conveyed properly. Like they should have said like, this is the price, it gets you everything.
Right. Well, maybe I just jumped the gun too. I might have just jumped the gun too, but I do walk back that statement. I think that $25, like for all the crap I'm saying negative about Nintendo, you're going to offer me 48 Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tracks for $25. I will take that all day, every day.
Yeah. And this is a situation where, yes, you can buy it, or you could do the NSO and have it.
Right, which is not really yours, but you could have it. Well, as long as you have the NSO,
but you have to have online, so it like kind of goes hand in hand.
For sure.
Yeah,
I will say this is a good thing. This is Nintendo doing something right. Like,
but I think it's because they had a gun to their head if they didn't do something right with this. It's completely like, okay, we'll do this part for you.
Yeah,
you know, they had to sweeten that $80 pot with something.
Oh, I just mean even the 48 tracks at $25. Like that is that's being consumer friendly to me, because you're talking about a game that is now 7 years old, right? Since it was not even more than that, I think.
I mean, 2013 is when the original one came out.
So you're talking about a 9-year-old game, right? That released on your last console. Like, yeah, this is good. Like, hey, you guys have been great. You bought tens of millions of copies of this game. Like, we're gonna cut you some slack here.
Okay, so you're telling me that if The Last of Us came out, and then 9 years later they said we added some more areas that you can explore and a little more story stuff.
I don't think it's comparable. I don't think it's comparable. I think like a more comparable thing would be like Smash, right? Like something that has the potential to be a platform, Halo even, right? Like something that like, hey, the game's still around. People are still playing it online in good numbers. Like The Last of Us, like people now play through the story, right? They don't play factions, right? Like, so I think, I don't think that's a one-to-one.
Halo's a good example. If they waited 9 years and said, here's some more Halo maps,
but
people would lose it.
Right.
They like, where's our campaign? Where's our this, that, and the other?
Right.
There's so many things that go with that.
But this is not a campaign-based game, so I still don't think that's necessarily a one-to-one.
I mean, I think that's where like freaking Diddy Kong Racing has a campaign, and that is an innovation,
right? This
that
is
they're
not
just choosing not to do.
Correct. Yeah, I'm not going nuts sticking up for Nintendo here, but the point I do want to make is it's not the first time they've added to this platform either.
Yeah.
They made you buy that DLC twice.
I mean, that's the thing. I bought Mario Kart 8 2 times. I've bought all of that DLC two times. So like they've gotten $300 of my money from this.
But that's why I think this is the right way to do it. Like, I think it's at least being aware of the fact that like there are people out there who spent the $50 extra on the Wii U, like apparently both of us did, who then spent $60 more buying the game again on the Switch. And like, I think they're at least showing that like they're somewhat aware of that. Right.
Yeah.
Which is good. Better than nothing. Better than like, hey, you want 48 tracks? It's Mario Kart 9 and it's $60. Like, right.
Yeah, I guess. I feel like with a brand new game, I expect a lot more than just like, okay, well, here's the same engine with some new tracks. There's got to be more innovation at that point.
Yeah.
So
I'll agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got any more gripes about Nintendo, man? Screw those guys,
I feel like I need to say like, yes, I love Nintendo. I do put my money where my mouth is with things like this. Like, I'm not going to be buying Advance Wars because, you know, of the reasons that I discussed on that.
Throwing me under the bus.
I mean, that's fine. Like,
you know what? Check this out. Are you ready? You ready for this, Brian? I will not be buying Advance Wars Reboot Camp.
Really?
I won't.
No, there's no way.
Dude, I'm still going to be playing Elden Ring. Like 2 years from now, I'm still going to be playing Elden Ring. What are you talking about?
That's true.
Yeah.
How about Amiibo DLC? That was a cool thing. Locking content behind Amiibos. There's just like
how many Amiibos did you buy?
I was gifted probably about 4, and yeah.
Did I gift them to you?
lifetime.
I didn't gift you any. Right?
No.
Yeah, I think I probably bought about 4.
Sure.
I really liked, like, they came out with the old 8-bit Mario and 8-bit Zelda, and I got those.
They're
too.
cool.
They're cool.
I will admit that.
Yeah, I do think the locking DLC behind Amiibo though is like, oh, you want some loot drops in Breath of the Wild,
right?
Well, you better buy those Link Amiibos, yeah,
right. Yeah. Which is probably, like, for kids, that's probably so fun to like have that innovation. Which brings me to a story time here.
Okay.
The ones that I was gifted. So my wife's dad was like, all right, well, what do we get Brian for Christmas? And she was like, he really wants these Amiibo things. Like, you would probably do well to get those. And he's like, these are like kids' toys. So, okay, whatever the nephew of, like, the 3-year-old nephew wants, like, that's what Brian wants for Christmas. Wow. So yeah, I have the same taste as a
they're like, who are you married to?
Exactly. Yes. That was it was a moment of pause for them.
I love it. I have no qualms asking people to, like, oh, what do you want? What should I get you for a gift? Well, a gift card for, like, PlayStation would be perfect. And they're like, you're a 40-year-old man. I'm like, damn right I am. And that's what I want.
Exactly.
Anything else would be a waste of your money.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I hope you like Demon Soul shirts too, Ryan.
Yeah, Demon Soul shirt is great.
Cool.
Fits well.
It's no Amiibo.
That's it.
Anything else you want to bring up?
So I love Nintendo. I think we've been crapping on them enough for this, but that's the whole episode. You know, we are displeased with a lot of these situations that we're in, and it just causes us to branch out and want that whatever the competition's offering. And I mean, that's okay. It just seems like they never bend to any of what the competition. I mean, even their online is so just like far beyond or far behind, I should say, what the competition offers.
It's
nowadays.
always been.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember them when online was first becoming a thing with, like, Xbox Live. They were like, people don't want this. Nintendo was vehemently against it.
And then when they did adopt it, it was terribly done.
Exactly.
Yeah. Dropped games all the time. Yeah.
Another situation of, like, okay, like, I guess you can have this. This seems like garbage. And we're like, yeah, this is garbage. This is not the right way to do it.
Yeah.
But this is what you're going to give us, I guess.
Okay. Now that this gun's to my head, I guess I'll do it. Exactly. that was a good example of that situation occurring. Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
For sure. I do, before my last points that I want to bring up, I just want to leave us with 2 quotes. And we could then judge if you think Nintendo is living up to these quotes. The first quote is from Shigeru Miyamoto. Nintendo's philosophy is never to go the easy path. It's always to challenge ourselves and try to do something new. Okay. So I'll leave you with that one. And then here's one from the late, great Satoru Iwata. At Nintendo, we do not run from risk. We run to it.
I mean, I would agree with both of those statements, because for everything that we've just said, they produce games that people love for all eternity and are, like, the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
So that's got to count for something.
I agree. I think those quotes lean towards innovation, which I think sometimes they struggle with. For all the faults I brought up, Nintendo is just, I love it. I love Nintendo. I'll never stop loving Nintendo. It means so much to me personally. And, like, I will do my best to be there at Universal Studios when the Nintendo park opens up. You know, I'll probably
forget Disney, man. Like, that is
a thing of the past. 100%. I love Disney now, but, like, going to the parks with my son, it's a different experience, you know? But yeah, like, believe me, that's where I'm getting my annual passes once that Nintendo park. Like, here's a good example of the hold that Nintendo has over us. I watched a YouTube video of somebody walking through the tunnel into the park in Japan. And, like, I legitimately, I cried. Like, it was like, I cannot believe this is real. I cannot believe this exists in the world. It is the company that holds my nostalgia more than any other.
Yeah.
and it's powerful, dude.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. So for all the crap I talk, like I love Nintendo, man.
Yeah.
Always have, always will. You know.
Me too, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're done.
Yeah.
We're done with all that. Let's go ahead and get into our mission debrief.
Okie doke.
All right, Brian. Thanks for humoring me this episode.
Of course.
I appreciate all the input you had.
Yes.
But I have a few things for my mission debrief here. If it's okay, if I can bring up two things.
Yeah.
I would love to. So my first thing is Beat Saber. Remember VR? I used to talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
I recently got an email from Meta Oculus. No, right?
Oh,
it's
God.
not Facebook. It's like Meta Quest. Meta Quest. And it was like a free $10 gift certificate. So I used it to buy.
Please buy something.
I did buy something. I bought the Lady Gaga Beat Saber music add-on.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds awesome.
It is awesome. It's dope, man. I
Sweet.
love it. I love Lady Gaga. I don't know if people know that about me. I think
Me too.
her music
No
is just like incredible. Yeah. And there is nothing cooler than feeling like you're probably looking ridiculous to everybody else in the room, but feeling like you are doing sick dance moves while using lightsabers to cut blocks to Lady Gaga.
I have a requirement in my life. I need your wife to film you playing the Lady Gaga Beat Saber and put it on our social media.
That would be so bad. That would be so bad. I'll be like, rah, rah, oh, mama. I would too, dude.
I know you would. You.
Oh, absolutely. Bad brown man's. Anyway. What have you done to me? So my second thing is that I'm streaming video games again. It's been 3 years since I streamed video games, but I did a test stream last night with Mario Kart 8. I was feeling so good about my victory. I'm just going to keep saying that I played. It was more of like just a test to see everything works and everything ran fine, and it did. It did. So by the time this episode releases, you'll be too late, but I'm doing a stream with Super Mega Baseball 3 when it's on Game Pass. And anybody who drops in, I'll create a character for them and make them a part of our team for the franchise. Obviously you'll be a part of it, Brian.
Heck yeah.
And then I don't know. I probably will end up streaming Elden Ring. I said I wouldn't, but like, don't hold me to anything I say. I just think it's going to be the game I'm playing the most. So why not stream it while I play it? Right?
That's how I'm going to ingest Elden Ring, is just through your streams.
Hey, you're more than welcome to join me. That would be cool, dude. But yeah, if you have the time and you see me online, I'll have we'll have our link tree in the show notes, and our Twitch is on that link tree. Go ahead and drop us a follow if you like watching people play video games. I don't know. It's funny because I'm not big on Twitch viewing. And when I streamed like 3 years ago, I really tried to we try to grow a community now. I genuinely enjoy listening to podcasts because it's much more passive than watching someone play video games and chatting with them on Twitch or YouTube. But I did try to do that back then. I don't want that pressure. I'm just here to play video games. You could watch if you want. There's no pressure here. I just want to share cool games with people who want to take the time to watch, So
you got to have that. What's up, everybody? Here we are, Ryan J in the house. Don't
forget to like and subscribe. No, I mean, here I am saying go give us a follow. I'm basically doing that now, right? But you can drop in if you want. No pressure, man. No biggie. No expectations.
There you go.
It'll be fun.
You're gonna play some games.
That's it.
That is great. I love that, and expect the video of Lady Gaga VR within the week. So my mission debrief.
I'll tell the doctor.
That's right. My mission debrief is an officially licensed Nintendo Entertainment product. And this is the Hori Split Pad Pro. I know I've talked about it to you before, but this fixes Joy-Con drift because
Did you have this planned?
No, I didn't. This has been one. So I have a list of mission debrief stuff I always want to talk about. This controller is awesome. So what it is basically 2 detached Joy-Cons that are big, and it looks like an Xbox controller split in half, so that you can put it on either side of your Switch, and you have a full gamepad. There's some turbo buttons. There's back paddles if you want to use those. You can put those to specific. You can what do you call it when you like assign buttons?
Like mapping.
Map buttons, exactly. So you can map there's like 4 different paddles that you can use, and it just feels like a real controller in your hands when you're playing handheld.
Yeah.
They recently announced, or it might have been released at this point, a attachment that you can plug in as well. So you could plug this into your Switch and then attach it like the charging grip, basically. It's not wireless. You still have to plug it in because this doesn't have any battery to it. It is just powered by the Switch in some way. But if you ever wanted to have the, I guess, Nintendo Switch Pro that actually has a good controller on it, this does it. It does not have rumble, so that kind of stinks. And there's no gyro aiming, so you do make some concessions, but this is like one of the bigger controllers that I've used. It almost feels like a Duke Xbox controller in your hands. It's massive, but it feels really good. So if you find yourself playing a lot of Switch games handheld and you want a way more comfortable way to do that, I absolutely buy this. They have so many different colors and iterations, and they're cheap. They're like, I think like it regularly goes on sale for like $30. So it's nowhere near the cost of a set of Joy-Cons. And I played through the entirety of Dread with this. It was so much more comfortable than any Joy-Con. Yes, I have a Pro controller, but I don't always want to play on the big screen. So yeah, this is a great investment. Very cheap, very good if you ever find yourself playing on handheld.
Very cool. Very cool.
Hori Split Pad Pro. It's made by Hori, but it's endorsed by Nintendo.
Very good, man. I do not have it, but I have a Pro controller, so I'm not sure I'll end up getting.
Well, you do most of your gaming on a TV.
Yeah.
See, I love playing handheld. I am a handheld person. That's why I'm getting the Steam Deck. That's why I have 2 Switches. So yeah, Nintendo getting me at every corner here.
Right? I know. The last game I played a lot of handheld was Hades, actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did that with
your little light.
Woohoo.
Yeah,
love
it's
the yellow.
Cool. Yeah, it's cool. I like it. I like it.
Watch the video if you want to see my sexy yellow Switch.
Yeah. So if anybody's still listening, because I'm sure people were like, they hate Nintendo, we're out of here. Thanks for sticking around. We do have an episode for next week. Next week, we hate Nintendo so much. Naturally, next week, we're going to talk about our top 5 Mario levels with Captain Morgan Remington of the Intergalactic Pinecone. He is a former podcaster, now Twitch streamer. Here I am talking about how I'm not like gonna network with other, like I'm not gonna put that much effort to it. Well, we have a Twitch streamer coming on next week, and I look forward to that episode. This is that nostalgia, right? Like we get to decide what our favorites are. I don't think there are any wrong answers here.
So any stipulations, just Mario levels in general, just right? Any
levels
game?
In a Mario game. Mario is missing could be on there,
Ooh.
If you want. It's totally.
Can I have all 5 from that game?
Yes.
Is Mario is missing a Mario game, or is that more of a Luigi game?
Oh.
Is that the prequel to Luigi's Mansion? Mario is missing?
Perhaps, yeah. I think you're onto something there.
These are huge questions that are just kind of mind-blowing to me.
Find out next week. Oh, no, I'm kidding. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening. We hope you have a great week. Take everything we say with a grain of salt. What the heck do we know? We're just like independent podcasters, right? All right. Well, thanks again. Have a good week. Bye.
See ya.